Okay, we are live. So today we begin a new section, a very, very important and meaningful section, relevant section, very section that brings a lot of purpose and meaning to life. Just to give some context, we're running through the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch in chronological order, and right now, after speaking about getting up and getting dressed and davening and learning something, we're now speaking about general proper conduct before we go about. Next, we'll discuss will be food, and then brachos, and then going off to work until it's time to go to sleep. So within the context of proper conduct, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch has 5 sections that deal with this. In the section, speak about proper conduct. We spoke about developing good character traits, which was taken up pretty much straight out of the Rambam, about being on the middle path, being not too extreme one way or the other, except for certain characters that we should go to the opposite extreme from them. Most recently, we spoke about negative speech, lashon hara, rechilos, and not taking revenge or not bearing a grudge. And today we move on to section 31. Okay. Our rabbis have blessed memory have said, upon which short verse are all the principles of the Torah predicated. It's on this little verse. 3 words. B'chol, derachecha, de'ehu. In all your ways, know him. It's 3 words of a verse, and so much of the Torah is dependent on these 3 words taken out of Proverbs. What does it mean? That even in those things that you do for your personal needs, even there you should acknowledge Hashem and do those things for the sake of His name. For example, when you eat, when you drink, this is actually again taken out of the Rambam. When you walk, when you sit, when you lie down, when you get up, even sexual intercourse, talking, all these physical needs should be done for the sake of serving your Creator, or for the sake of doing something that will be conducive to the service of Hashem. So this is such a fundamental halacha. What it means is that our relationship with Hashem doesn't begin and end when we're doing mitzvahs. But it's all the time. It's in everything that we do. It's a relationship. We don't check into God's office when we come to shul and then check out when we leave, or even whatever other mitzvahs that we do, whether we're saying the Shema, tefillin. There's a very easy perspective, which would be there's times that I need to take care of my material well-being, my financial well-being, my emotional well-being, and there's times that I need to take care of my spiritual well-being. Comes the Rambam, comes the Shulchan Aruch, come our sages, and they say, B'chol derachecha de'ehu. In all your ways you should know him. And what that means is that everything that we do in life can be imbued with a higher purpose, can be imbued with meaning, can be imbued with a sense of purpose of connecting to Hashem. And some may view this as invasive. Okay, when I'm sitting down to daven, I'll think about Hashem. But if I'm sitting down to have a nice burger from Kosher Nando's, let me just enjoy the burger. Don't mix religion into this. But for me, it is liberating, because for me, eating a burger just because I enjoy it doesn't come close to the excitement of eating the burger because I know that this is giving me the energy to be able to do a mitzvah, to be able to serve Him. So while some might view it as inhibitive, my personal experience is the more we're able to connect our everyday mundane activities with a higher purpose, the more enjoyable, exciting, meaningful, and happy they become. So let's break this down. What does this mean? How can you serve Hashem by eating and drinking? Needless to say that you may not eat or drink things that are forbidden. God forbid. See, this little line over here is sharing with us something which is quite beautiful. It's about perspective. If I say that there are times that I eat and there's times that I connect with Hashem, So then you could say, okay, when I'm eating, like then too, to start thinking about kosher, like, okay, when I'm davening, I'll think about Hashem. But if I need to eat, let me just sit down and eat. But that's if we're viewing eating as time for ourselves. If we view eating in the context of developing our relationship with Hashem, then of course I'll only eat what's kosher. Because if everything in my life is about meaning and connection and developing my relationship with Hashem, then I want to make sure that everything in my life is lined up. I mean, imagine you were a president or a king. A president, every one of his even mundane activities need to be accordingly. The president might say, okay, I'm having a lazy day today. I'm going to go out in my pajamas. You're the president. It doesn't, even if you're going out for coffee, as the president, you don't do that in your pajamas. So for us, it's not the president, but it's something more meaningful. It's about developing our relationship with Hashem. So if that's what it's about, then yeah, of course I'm going to only eat that which I'm allowed to eat. Why would I eat something I'm not allowed to eat? That's not going to fit into my overall lifestyle of developing this relationship. But even regarding foods that are permitted, Tanya speaks a lot about this. If you are thirsty and hungry and you eat and drink just to satisfy your desires, that's not a praiseworthy attitude. But you should have in mind that you are eating and drinking to have strength to serve the Creator. Now, there are ramifications. What does that mean? Therefore, don't eat all that appeals to your palate, like a dog or a donkey. But you should eat only things that are helpful and beneficial to the health of your body. So again, if you're just viewing eating as an independent activity without being connected to a central direction in life, so then you'll just eat what tastes good. But if you're looking to have this holistic lifestyle of everything fitting into that larger picture of developing a meaningful relationship, then that will empower you and inspire you to not want to eat unhealthily. There are some very devout people who say before partaking of food, I am about to eat or drink in order to be healthy and strong to serve Hashem. So some people actually, anytime before they eat, they say, why am I eating and drinking? In order to have strength to serve Hashem. The truth is we all do that. When we make a bracha, included in that bracha is the acknowledgement that this isn't just about me and my desires, but it's about my relationship with Hashem. So that's as far as how something as mundane as eating and drinking can be done to serve Him. What about sitting and getting up, walking? So again, needless to say, you should not sit in the company of scoffers, nor stand in the way of sinners. This is a little bit ambiguous, meaning go and stand around sinners, or walk in the counsel of the wicked. In other words, if everything's about relationship with Hashem, for sure I'm not going to hang out in places that are bad for my spiritual well-being. But even if you sit in a meeting of honest men, and stand in the place of the righteous and walk in the counsel of the perfect, it is borrowing terms. I'm pretty sure this is all straight out of the Rambam. But you do this to satisfy your own desires, to gratify your ambitions and cravings. That's not praiseworthy. Rather, do these things for the sake of heaven. Nevertheless, if you are unable to direct your thoughts to act exclusively for the sake of heaven, you should not abstain from doing these things, for by doing good for ulterior motives, you will eventually do them for the sake of heaven. So if what you're doing is right, don't get despondent if you really are just feeling materialistic about it. Because after all, what you're doing is good. So if we are able to do it for the right reasons, that would be an A+. But if we can't do it for the right reasons, obviously, as long as we're doing it, if it's something that's good, then it will pull us in the right direction. Okay, how do you serve Hashem by lying down? Again, needless to say, at a time when you are able to occupy yourself with the study of Torah and mitzvahs, and you yield to the urge to sleep for your own gratification, that is not the proper thing to do. So again, if everything is in a higher context, certainly I'm not going to just mess around. However, even when you are tired and you need to sleep in order to rest from your hard work, if you do so just for pleasure, that's not praiseworthy. What is praiseworthy? To have in mind that you are giving sleep to your eyes and rest to your body in order to be healthy. Why? So that your mind is not distracted by sleepiness when you study the Torah. How can sexual intercourse be a service of Hashem? Needless to say that you should not commit a sin, God forbid, meaning be involved in intercourse in a way that the Torah doesn't allow, with people that the Torah doesn't allow, or the state of being that it's not allowed. Rather, even when exercising the conjugal rights that are spoken of in the Torah, if you do so for your own gratification or just to satisfy your lusts, it would be reprehensible. And even if you have in mind during intercourse to have children to assist you and take your place, it's still not praiseworthy. What is praiseworthy? Have in mind that this is in order to have children who will serve the Creator, or have in mind, if it's not in the context of children, to strengthen this is to strengthen your body and to fulfill the mitzvah a man has as an obligation to his wife, meaning this is about my commitment to my wife. It's not just about lust, but it's about a responsibility that I have. So even something that seems so materialistic, so what could be lustful, everything can and should and be imbued with a higher purpose. And as I said, this, for me, I don't find this invasive, but rather I find it liberating. I find that it really gives added excitement to everything that I do, and I know that it's connected to something so much greater. How can you serve Hashem? By talking? Again, needless to say that you should not engage in lashon hara, or tale-bearing, or scoffing, or in, like we spoke about in the previous chapter, or in talking obscenities, meaning nonsense. But even when telling anecdotes from the life of our sages, you should have the intention to serve the Creator and to inspire others to serve Him. So even in conversation, think about words that will empower people, that will strengthen people, that will inspire people. So you could go out for dinner and just meet up with some friends. And again, your intention can either just be that, like, I need to, relax, which is important. Or you could say, I need to relax so that I could serve Hashem better. Or let me go out so that I could help him out and help, clear his mind and let him have an opportunity to connect and let what his have a shoulder to rest on. Similarly, when you engage in business or in a trade or profession to earn a livelihood, don't aspire merely to accumulate wealth, but pursue your work in order to support your family, to give tzedakah, to raise your children to study Torah. Ain't cheap. The general principle that you should give all your actions is, it is the duty of every person to consider his ways judiciously. Let's see the Hebrew over here. To weigh them up, to be mindful, and to weigh his deeds on the scales of reason. And if he sees something that is conducive to the service of the Creator on high, he should do it. Otherwise, don't. And if you lead your life according to this rule, you will be serving Hashem all your days, even when sitting, getting up, walking, and doing business, even when eating and drinking, yes, even when having marital relations and performing all your bodily functions. With regard to this way of thinking, our rabbis of blessed memory said, let all your deeds be for the sake of heaven. That's how we started the chapter. That's how we're ending. And in the same manner, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, who was the author of the Mishnah, a great Torah sage of the Mishnah, the Talmudic era, raised his fingers heavenwards when he was dying, and he said, it is obvious and known to you that I derive no personal benefit from them. All I have done was only for the sake of heaven. Now, it's worth noting, you might view this Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Judah the Prince, he was also known as, perhaps he was, this very spiritual person that was not involved in the physical, but absolutely not. That is not what we're saying. Chapter 31 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is not saying that we should live spiritual lives. It's saying we should live physical lives imbued with a higher cause, imbued with meaning, imbued all in the context of serving Hashem. So let it be physical, but to serve Hashem. And you see that by Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right? Judah the Prince himself. Rabbeinu HaKadosh was actually extremely, extremely wealthy. The Gemara describes him as being so wealthy that there were two particular delicacies that never ceased from his table. One of them was radishes. There were always radishes on his table, which at the time was a delicacy. So you might say, I don't get it. If you say that I never derived pleasure from the world, then why does he have these delicacies on the table? Because it's precisely this point. The Shkitzer Shulchan Aruch is not saying stay away from the physical. Be involved in the physical, but let it be for a higher purpose. So he was wealthy, and he had every type of delicacy on his table, but it was in the context of serving Hashem. It wasn't in the context of indulgence. I'm reminded of a story, and with this I'll conclude. I forgot the details, and I wish I remembered them. But there was a particular Rebbe, and he was making a point to one of his Hasidim. And he said, let me show you the difference. And he called in his one non-Jewish assistant, and he asked him, Ivan, why do you do what you do? And I forgot the details. And he said, in order to make another buck. And he said, why do you make another buck? He said, in order to, it goes down the chain eventually, why this, why that? He said, in order that I could buy another bottle of mashka, vodka, and I could say l'chaim. And then he called in his Jewish assistant. And he asked him, tell me, why are you doing what you're doing? And he said, I'm doing this for this. Eventually he said, and why that? He said, what do you mean? So that I could be able to serve the Creator. And the Rebbe turned to his student and he said, therein lies the difference. They could be doing the same thing. But what is our ultimate goal? What is our objective of everything in life? It should be in the context of striving to use it all in order to serve Hashem. Thanks for joining. And please God, tomorrow we'll continue with section